there's been so many different protests, and some of them sadly have been hijacked by all kinds of political agendas, anarchists, rioters, fill in the blank. And one incident that happened in our city with a guy who's been on the show before, Jermaine Funny Mane Johnson. His speech got him a new name, not so Funny Mane. But there was the mayor said that if of Birmingham, keep in mind who is also African American, said if we can make a case against Mr. Johnson that he incited a riot that was a peaceful protest until he said what he said. Now that's for the courts to decide. That's not for me to decide. But he said we will bring charges against him if it warrants charges. Well, it looks like that he will be charged with inciting a riot. And then some of you kind of misunderstood the update because we have a lot of listeners and viewers that are in that part of the world where we actually all live. And he did not go pay $500 and now he's free and he's not going to be charged. That's what you pay. You can pay a bond not to go to jail. Mm-hmm. So he went by and he paid his $500 so they wouldn't keep him in jail, and then he'll have his trial date coming up, and then a judge or however these work. If a misdemeanor would just be a judge, right? There would be no jury or anything like that. It'd just be a judge.
I don't know.
But anyway, however it's Probably, done, his trial is yet to come, and then he'll either be exonerated as not being guilty of inciting a riot or breaking any laws, or he will. But this update that all of you going, hey, did you see that? All he had to do is pay $500. Now he's fine. No, he paid $500 not to be placed in jail, waiting on his court date. So he is free on bond.
So what is the? I was trying to read the detail here of the charge of inciting a riot. Exactly what that means. Also, do you see where it says what the penalty is for that, if that was the case?
Here's what it says. It says, under Alabama law, a person commits the crime, because remember, it has to be whatever state you're in,
right.
Commits the crime of inciting to riot if he or she commands, solicits, incites, or urges another person to engage in that's a tough word too.
Yeah, I know.
To any sort of violent conduct.
Tumulus.
Yeah, if you turned it into turmoil and unrest, right. It's a tough word for us with our speech impediments.
Sure.
But the bottom line is, if you're what you're saying causes people to take something peaceful and turn it into something that is violent, a conduct of a kind likely to cause or create grave risk of public terror or alarm. So will he meet that demand? I don't know, but he'll have his day in court. But the update is the charge is a Class A misdemeanor, and he paid his bond not to be held in jail till he had his court day because he has been charged. He'll have his day in court, and if the court decides it did not meet the demand of the laws of the state of Alabama, he'll be fine. And if it finds out that they think it did meet the demand of the laws of Alabama, then he'll be charged. And sentenced, because he's already charged and found guilty, but I don't know what that sentence, what's available.
No, I don't either. The mayor said everyone is not the same. Certain people in this community would be deemed as influencers. When they speak, people listen to them. When they act, people follow them. They have a responsibility with that type of power.
It says here that misdemeanors. It depends on what state. You got A, B, C, and D.
So this is an A.
They say A misdemeanor is the most serious and carries the greatest consequences. And it depends on what state. It's typically punishable by jail sentence of no more than 1 year and a fine of a certain amount. So I guess it just depends on. State and the way the judge says.
I think the way because here's the thing, his speech is on video and has been recorded, so it's not like
they'll be able to see.
And I understand
whichever way.
I think what he's going to try to say is, I was trying to say, don't tear up, businesses and things like that. But we are going to. He clearly tells them to go tear down the monument. In my opinion, I'm not a legal mind, but does that count if it's anything that becomes destructive, not just businesses?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because here's one thing I've been asking about it, and I understand the sentiment. I really do. Of course, it is interesting that a lot of these people that we're tearing down, were Democrats. But if we're going to go back in history, I don't know how we're giving the Democrat Party a pass. By the way, I'm still totally confused by that. If we go back in history and whatever you were in history, that's how you're
And
defined.
we're doing that.
That's how you're defined now. How's the Democratic Party getting away with this? Hey, hello. Hey, let me.
A lot of members.
Hello, everybody. Black Lives Matter. Everybody listen to me right here. Y'all do realize it was the Democrats, right? Do y'all know where the Democrats were on the side of all of this? When it comes to slavery, when it comes to the civil rights movement, do y'all know where the Democrats stood? Now, what you may say is, well, they're not that way anymore. I disagree with you. I just think they have a new game plan. But let's say that you say that. Okay, well, then other people should be able to be given that same, right? Mm-hmm. Shouldn't other people be in the same filter? Well, just because you were one way in the past doesn't mean you're that way now. I actually agree with that. But why are we saying that if you're not a Democrat, anything you did in the past stands true today? But now if you're the Democratic Party, the fact that at one time you were racist, you're not anymore. I don't. I mean, the way we're doing it, I don't think the way we're doing it's right. I don't think you need to be. You go back in time and pull people to modern day and say you must be punished for things that someone did that you weren't even part of. Because what I would say if I was a Democrat, to see if this sounds familiar, well, y'all can't be calling us racist because other Democrats were racist in the past. Did everybody hear that line of thinking? Because that seems like the way we're handling it. Well, why don't we apply that to everything? And then we deal where racism still exists, and we deal with that. But see, that's going to be distracted when we start going back and start talking about racism of the past, and how do we fix that? We got to fix racism of the current day. That's what we got to fix. Right. And I will tell you this, and I've seen even the Southern Baptist president talk about this, and I think people need to know this because my wife and I were talking about it, and Sherry and I looked too. The term Black Lives Matter is 100% correct. Now, the movement Black Lives Matter is something completely different.
The organization. I'm not talking about protesters. There's people out there that are holding up the signs Black Lives Matter, and they mean what it says, which is 100% true. Okay, and I have no problem saying Black Lives Matter, none at all, because they do. All Black Lives Matter. Okay, can I say that?
No,
I can't say that.
No, it's just Black Lives Matter.
Does that mean? Well,
I'm just trying to protect you.
Okay,
in
all
the
right.
show.
Well, I'll say Black Lives Matter. But I just meant
apparently if you put all in front of that, or just
even
all
in front of
lives,
I know you don't say all lives matter,
right? But if you say all Black Lives Matter, right. I understand. I think, and Adler, you can help me here.
I'm sorry,
that is wrong.
I apologize, and I'll just say Black Lives Matter, which I guess I assume would mean the same thing. But anyway, I know you have to be careful with words now. Mm-hmm. But here's what's happened, and this is sad. There's political agendas that have hijacked what should be a very important movement. Okay, true. And they've hijacked it. And I'm only telling you this for that, because you may be like us, standing with, our African American brothers and sisters, saying any injustice that has to do, against the African American community, we must all work together to resolve. However, when you go to like the official website, we are the organization Black Lives Matter. You've had some political agendas come in there and hijack that. And here's why I'm saying that's important, because my wife and I talked about it yesterday. If you go into, say, a store, and my wife experienced this, that says, well, today every purchase you make, 15% goes to the organization Black Lives Matter, you're funding the Democratic Party. You can go look for yourself. You can go to the website and you can look.
I would say if you look at what they say under what they believe, it's even further than that.
No doubt. Now, also, if you're someone who has certain spiritual convictions concerning God's standard for marriage and gender, that there's been other organizations that have hijacked the organization and the website. So if you go up and say, I'd like to make a donation to the Black Lives Matter organization, just be sure you know where your money's going. Because if you're wanting to be part of what we all should be addressing, that's fine. But you need to know that if you don't want Democratic Party, the Democratic Party to be funding candidates all over the country with your money, and you don't want to support certain other agendas that you might not agree with, and all I'm saying is be sure you go to their website, it's there, and read it for yourself. Not talking about people that are just holding up signs and putting social media posts and saying Black Lives Matter. I'm not talking about that. That's completely understood, and I have no problem saying that, and I agree with that. But the organization that has hijacked this phrase and using it for people who truly are empathizing and trying to help, that may not be for some other agendas that have attached themselves, I think unfairly, to the Black Lives Matter movement, you need to know where your money's going. Because you're going to go into stores, and that store is going to say 15% today goes to Black Lives Matter, and you're thinking, okay, great. Well, be sure you know where that's going. And the Black Lives Matter official website, the organization, not the phrase, not the sentiment, the organization, you need to know. And you may be okay with it. You may look there and go, I'm all for that. But you need to know. Because that's, and all you got to do is go to the website. It's there. Read what we believe, and it'll show you how it works and where the money's going. It's really important you do that. If you have a problem with where it's going. But at least just be informed. You may be informed and say, I'm all in. That's what I want. That's fine. But you need to know.